everyone, I'm Rubina.
And I'm Layla.
Welcome back to our channel, Nutrition Unpacked.
Where we try diets so you don't have to.
But not today.
Not today!
We're doing something different.
We are going over to our good friends at Reddit in a fun way. And I'm a huge Redditor. I've always loved r/relationship advice, r/am I the asshole. Like, I could read those all day long because in addition to nutrition, my other passion in life is the drama.
But I mean, we're not abandoning nutrition altogether, obviously. So you'll see.
You'll see
how this works.
Excited.
Should we get into
Let's
it?
get into it.
Should I go first?
Okay,
I can go
you're
first.
ready.
I can do the first one.
Log in.
Story number 1. Am I the asshole for telling someone that genetics may play a part in their obesity? First thoughts.
First thoughts, from the title, not the asshole. Because that's objectively true.
It's objectively true, and I actually find, in my experience, talking about that, often it's actually destigmatizing to like say like, hey, because I feel like the popular narrative or the paradigm is that like if someone is struggling with their weight or is in a larger body, that it's their fault,
they don't have discipline, they're lazy, they're just gluttonous.
I think when we bring up the role of genetics, I think for a lot of people that's actually like eye-opening, and it's destigmatizing, and it takes some of that maybe self-hatred off of them. I'm wondering why that could be taken in a negative way.
All right, let's see.
So let's read. Me, 25 female, and my friend, 27 male, were having a conversation about his recent doctor's appointment where he was told he was very obese. He's someone who regularly works out, eats a pretty balanced diet. He takes his health very serious, and I can see him take actions toward his health. I told him it was good he was made aware of this issue, and it must be rough to deal with this, but I'm sure his genetics also play a part in his obesity. He has mentioned both his parents are on the heavier side. I didn't intend to call his parents fat at all, but he was very upset by my comment and told me not to talk about his parents like that. He thinks I'm an asshole for bringing his parents into the conversation. Am I the asshole?
See, I want to know, because the title is, am I the asshole for saying genetics might play a role? Did she say,
yeah, because your parents are big fat whales, that's why you're fat too?
Like, I feel like there's some context missing, because what she describes here is not saying, hey, you mentioned that your parents are heavier, perhaps there's a genetic component. I don't know. Did she say that, or did she, what did she say?
Oh, you think that she's leaving out pieces?
Well, for him to be like, oh, don't talk about my parents like that. She must have, like...
Right. Genetics are a pretty complex thing, though, right? It's not like, oh, like just because your parents look a certain way, you're going to look a certain way. Or if your parents have a certain illness, you're going to get that illness. It's not, like, super cut and dry like that. So, like, something could be in your genetics, or you could have a higher predisposition to something, but it might never manifest because of other variables that you've been exposed to or whatever. I think if you know that, weight in general, there is a genetic component to it, but it doesn't mean that every single person in your family is going to have the exact same weight or BMI, but I wonder if people would perceive it that way. But they're like, oh, your whole family is fat, so it makes sense that you're fat too.
Sounds like the friend said, oh, my parents are actually heavy.
Right.
Because, like, isn't the friend say, my parents are heavier or whatever, and she said whatever? And, I think weight is something that's very, very stigmatized.
But I wonder, like, because it says he has mentioned both his parents are on the heavy side, so maybe that was, like, a separate conversation as opposed to, like, right there in that moment. I mean, this is a very sensitive topic in and of itself, and unfortunately, we live in a society where being in a larger body or even the word fat is, like, synonymous with, there's a negative connotation to it. Ideally, it would just be a neutral term, but that's not the reality. So I can see where maybe the friend would be upset.
I wonder what the friend actually said and what they were looking for in that moment, because I think, they had just gone to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor had said, you have, like, you have what did they say, extreme obesity? What is it? Like, it was very extreme, very obese. But apparently the doctor said you're very obese, or something that was interpreted in that way. And, this seems to be someone that really values their health, values, eating well and exercising. So perhaps when talking to their friend about it, they weren't actually, like, looking for, oh, well, maybe the reason is genetics. Maybe they're looking for, wow, that sounds like a really shitty experience. I'm sorry that you were invalidated at the doctor. Or I don't know what the situation was. I think they might be the asshole. Like, they're not the asshole, but I think they might. I just feel like the story's not adding up.
I almost feel like this might be a situation where, even though there's truth to what she said, it's not a helpful thing to say, which is, I think, what you're getting at. But I also think that, like, maybe it's just, like, sometimes you're just, like, you don't know what to say, and maybe she thought it would be destigmatizing. Like, yeah, there is like a powerful genetics component to it, like in terms of like taking care of like the things that are a little bit more within your control in terms of like food and physical activity. You are doing all the things, but yeah, sometimes there are things that are not in your control. So maybe she thought that could be reassuring, but it didn't get taken that way. I mean, delivery is everything when it comes to this type of thing, right? And it is a very sensitive topic. So you're right. I don't know if we have the context.
I don't think we have the context. I do think that the notion of like genetics and obesity is one of those things that like gets misrepresented a lot, because I think people think it's like, oh, you have like a fat gene, and like if you have this gene you're fat, and if you have this gene you're not fat, which is just objectively not the case. It's not the case of like, you know when you do the little Punnett squares in biology where it's like, my dad had blue eyes and my mom has brown eyes and I have brown eyes and I'm big B little b. Like, obesity is, there's definitely genetic components to it, as well as environmental and all these different things that all kind of come into play together. And when we look at the genetic component of it, it's like there's probably like hundreds of genes, if not more, that all play into this. It's not necessarily like, oh, these genes make you fat, but it's, these genes impact the way that you interact with the environment. You're more likely to have certain food preferences because of your genetics. There's something called non-exercise activity thermogenesis, where, I'm just a person who just generally moves a lot. And so I burn probably a lot of calories per day just moving, but there's other people who just don't do that, and that's completely related to genetics.
We shared on the channel before that foresight map of obesity. There's so many variables that are contributors to weight gain or obesity. Biological component of it, I mean, genetics is like one part of that, definitely an important contributor, but that's like interacting with like psychological things, social things, yes, the physical activity and food side of things, but even like the type of media that you're exposed to, the physical environment, like the infrastructure around you. There's such a complex interplay between all of that. The current paradigm is like people that aren't struggling with weight, oh, they just have more discipline, they're just able to say no to a cookie, or they could just have half a chocolate bar and then just stop, like, oh, they're so strong or whatever. But really what I think it is that for all of us, it takes like X amount of a certain food to feel full or satisfied, and that X amount can be different person to person. There could be a genetic role to that, like depending on your fullness hormones and all of that, but there could be a psychological component to it. It could be your environment in terms of how you've been raised. That's just the reality of how that can affect our current food choices. Like you said, it's not like eye color.
Your parents both had brown eyes and then you have brown eyes, your parents are both obese, you're obese. It's like, maybe your mom has a gene that she passed on to you that means that you have a preference for higher caloric food, and your dad has a gene that he passed on to you that means that your hormones that tell you you're full just work a little bit differently. For someone in this case, it sounds like this person really does try and put thought into their health and thought into things like that, and I feel like it would just be like very frustrating almost to be like, also like, yeah, they might have taken this as like their friend being like, yeah, there's like really nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do because your parents are fat, you're fat too. Sucks to be you.
I'm gonna say not the asshole. I think it was. I'm speculating that it was a well-intentioned comment that didn't play out the way that she thought it was going to. I don't think anyone likes going to the doctor, and then if you're receiving bad news, and especially with something like this, that there is like such a huge stigmatizing component to it. Maybe the friend just wanted just some sort of support that wasn't, oh, sucks to be you. You have bad genetics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are people actually saying about this? What are people saying?
Yeah, that's not the asshole. By genetics, I'm going to assume you actually meant his inherited DNA, not a dig at his parents' weights. Your statement was true. Even if both his parents were at their ideal weight, that doesn't necessarily mean each didn't inherit a genetic cocktail that includes a mix of genes that make managing a healthy weight more difficult for him.
I agree with them.
However, I agree with others that your friend was probably looking for a sympathetic ear, not a rational discussion on the causes of obesity. So maybe work on your social skills of reading cues.
Maybe their social skills are genetic. I don't know.
That's perfect.
I think that's exactly. I agree with them.
I think that's exactly what we were trying to say, but
like we took 20 minutes, and they took like 2 paragraphs. All right, next one.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to read the next one?
I'll read the next one. Okay. Here we go. Loading. I think it's like pretty clear cut just from the title. Okay. Am I the asshole for telling my aunt that diabetes was her decision?
Yes.
100%.
You are wrong. But you know what? Maybe I'm missing context. Give it to me.
All right.
Give it to me.
On Sunday, my family and I met up with my aunt at a donut shop after church. She lives fairly close by, and we decided it would be nice to see how she was doing and get some coffee. We've been going to this particular shop for years because we're neighbors with the owners and enjoy their food. Anyway, my aunt came in and walked up to the counter. She ordered an expensive latte with whipped cream and caramel sauce. How dare she?
I thought she had to throw in that it was expensive.
It was expensive latte.
Like, what a frivolous lady. What a wasteful lady.
And then she sat down at our table. I always drink my coffee black, and I think it's ridiculous when people order was essentially a milkshake with a small splash of
All
coffee.
hail OP for always drinking your
I
coffee
only
black.
drink my coffee black.
I couldn't help but roll my eyes at her order. We settled in and began discussing what was new in our lives. My aunt revealed some news about her health. Her doctor had diagnosed her as a diabetic and said she needed to change her diet. How would you respond? Your aunt said, yeah, you know, my doctor actually told me I have diabetes and I need to change my diet. What would you say?
I would say, well, where did they connect you with a dietitian? Like, what kind of dietary changes did they recommend?
You know,
That's probably, probably find out, like, how she's feeling about this.
That's big news. That can be scary. Well, this person, they went a
She took a different
route. It's unsurprising that my aunt was now diabetic. She has eaten a horrible diet for years and given us every excuse in the book. She says that sugary food, quote, just tastes better, which actually,
facts.
That's true.
Straight facts.
And that food that's merely lightly sweetened, quote, isn't sweet enough. I asked her why she had chosen to get diabetes. Can you imagine? Yeah, my doctor diagnosed me with diabetes. Well, why did you choose to get diabetes? We have a well-known family history, which is why I've been on a low-carb diet for years.
One sentence to the next. Why did you choose to get diabetes? We have a family history of diabetes.
She looked at me like I had 3 heads. She said that it wasn't a choice and that she was offended that I had said such a thing. At this point, even my parents seemed offended.
Yeah, that's just rude.
Can you imagine you're with your parents and you say that to one of your parents' siblings? At this point, even my parents seemed offended, but I couldn't help but chuckle. Nobody had forced my aunt to eat and drink all this sugary stuff over the years, and it was comical that they thought someone had. She only had herself to blame, and therefore she wanted to get diabetes. I was laughing. My mother pulled me aside, and she was really upset. She got all red and told me that I was being a real jerk to my aunt and that diabetes is a long road with many complications, so I should be more compassionate. You know what? It's crazy that this guy's mom, or this person's mom, is like this. This mom has some compassion.
Claps for the mom.
But obviously didn't raise their kid to have that same thing, or maybe it's genetic. I told my mom that everyone at the table should instead be apologizing to me, since all I had done was point out the reality of the situation and demonstrated what can result from a lack of willpower, in this case diabetes. I'm being asked to apologize for being honest, and it's simply absurd in my view. Am I the asshole? Yes.
So many layers of things I want to say. Absolutely any truth you have could be said in a kind way or in an assholey way.
Also, some truths don't need to be said.
That's the other thing. Like, just because something is, first of all, we'll get to whether this is true or not. But even if something is true, doesn't mean it's helpful.
If something really needs to be communicated, you can be kind. In this situation, none of this needed to be said. Yes, it is true that having poor lifestyle factors can contribute to the development of diabetes. But what usefulness would that be in that situation to just tell someone, well, you know, lifestyle factors, this is not helpful.
They probably feel like they've made a lot of sacrifices, and at least so far they haven't received any sort of diagnosis, so they probably feel some, like, sense of, like, I'm superior to you, like, yes, I had to make all of these sacrifices, but it was worth it. Sucks to be you for getting an $18
I just want to say,
latte.
if this is their aunt, they're probably considerably older than this
Exactly,
person.
I know.
So who knows if 20, 30 years down the line, they could be in the exact same boat. And as much as, you know, diabetes, there definitely is a lifestyle component, there actually is also a genetic component, as evidenced by we have a family history of diabetes.
And low carb doesn't, like, guarantee that you're not gonna get diabetes. I actually think, like, the evidence doesn't even support that. It seems like there are other variables, like adiposity as a whole seems to be a bigger role.
Diet quality as a whole also plays a role. I think people think, okay, diabetes, it affects your ability to process carbohydrates, therefore it's caused by carbohydrates, but so far that's not supported.
Part of maybe the connection there, or like the misconnection there, is that because of the adiposity component, and if you are having a lot of maybe hyperpalatable foods, because those types of foods do tend to be more calorically dense and maybe not as satiating, that could lead to weight gain and development of diabetes. I mean, I guess I can see how the dots could be connected, but it's really not an A to B link like the way this person is making it seem, and like them doing low carb, it may not actually mitigate any risk. I don't know, depending on what else they're doing and all their other lifestyle genetic factors, maybe they could stave it off, but it really doesn't guarantee anything.
Strange.
It's just preposterous because like not only this person is saying something that's factually wrong, they're saying something that's incredibly rude, and then just saying it with their whole chest.
Yeah, and like not backing down, laughing, and like also the fact is that like, oh, it was the auntie's choice. Choice is not as simple as we think it is, especially when we talk about like sweet preferences and stuff like that. We know that that has a biological component, and there's certain people whose like brains get more reward from sweetness and stuff like that. I think we have like an illusion of choice, and obviously we all should be making like the best decisions we can, but I think any notion of like, oh, we're 100% in control of things all the time is just not true, especially when we live in like the kind of society where we do now, where we're exposed to food advertising all the time, and like we have like, you know, all these different foods that are engineered to be super rewarding. It's like we have a choice, but the choice isn't as clear-cut as you think. Just having like zero compassion for your own family member.
And also, like, again, I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know how much time they spend like eating in each other's presence, but I don't know if the person, if OP is like being a little presumptuous too, like this idea of like, oh, we went out for coffee today, but like, are you assuming that that's representative? I mean, I don't know. I don't think we can always assume how people are living their life or how they typically eat based on like
family events,
based on family events, or going out to eat a couple of times or even a week. Or, like, I don't know. I don't know how presumptuous OP is being.
No, I think they're being very, very presumptuous, and I think that they're just generally like not a nice person. That's my take on that. Okay.
So to answer your question, yes, you're the asshole. Okay. Next one. I'm just gonna read the question. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Am I the asshole for cooking low carb on the holidays?
Okay, I think this is tricky. And based on the title alone, it's tricky because it's like, are you just being annoying?
Is it like, are you imposing your new diet on other people kind of thing?
Yeah, but also you are cooking for everyone, and I do think if you're cooking for people, like I hate processed cheese. Like with every fiber of my being, it just like the texture of it, like it makes like even just thinking about it makes
Really? I love processed cheese. I like cheese in general. Like blue cheese, I'm not quite there at that level yet, but I love processed cheese.
That's the thing. I've been to many people's houses where they've made me food with processed cheese, and you know what I do? I just swallow it, because you know what? They put their time and their effort to cook for me, and that I feel like if you're cooking for people, I think you're never the asshole if you're cooking for people, unless like you're like poisoning them.
If you're committing murder, you're an asshole.
You are an asshole.
Otherwise, we love you.
Yeah.
Hosting and cooking, I mean, it's such a time-consuming task. It's a labor of love. It can be expensive. I, 42 female, am the family chef. My mother-in-law hates to cook. Same with my brother-in-laws and their wives. Meanwhile, though my family's gone, I was raised by a wannabe chef who loved the holidays and always invited anyone who didn't have somewhere else to go to join our table. Oh, I love that.
That's really nice.
I keep this tradition going, have plenty of seats available, and all my friends and family love my cooking. That's amazing. That's so generous. Like,
Yeah.
I love that. I also have chronic illness and a restricted diet. I've been cooking to my own needs for years. For example, sugar gets swapped for stevia, rolls are made with almond flour, peanut butter cookies are 90% peanut butter, etc. Everyone who is a regular at my table also have medical needs that coordinate with my food needs, but aren't as diligent about it. Example, the diabetics don't have to worry as much since I don't use real sugar. I have a dozen people that are regulars at my holiday meals, all adults, and they all love my low-carb, sugar-free, well-seasoned food. I put the flavor where I can, and we don't miss out. Here's the question. I have invited some new stragglers this year, and when one found out how I cook, they were horribly offended.
I just also was like, this person's inviting to your home. It sounds like they're not a member of your family. What?
They're refusing to come unless I make more conventional recipes.
Okay, bye.
Oh, bye, Felicia. Like,
Bye. Okay. Have fun by yourself on whatever holiday it is.
This person is a new significant other of a longtime friend.
Oh, a new. I have to say, of a long-time friend, not even of a long-time friend. I would be mortified.
To be that person.
Yeah. Like, you're being introduced to your friends, like your friends.
Your
like,
partner's friend.
Yes, your partner friend group. And you're going to be like, I'm not.
And has never eaten my food, but will not eat anything that's not standard old-style recipes.
What does that even mean?
If you don't make it like my grandma made it, I'm not coming.
Oh, wow. Okay, then don't come.
The same recipes that will make me quite ill and cause potential medical issues for others, as they have become used to letting their guard down with food in my house. I want to make nice with this person, as the friend they are connected to means a lot to me.
No, immediately.
But am I the asshole if I refuse?
Absolutely not. I immediately, if that was my friend whose partner, I would be like, listen, I hate your partner. They are like, you're just a bad person.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't even met this person, the first time you're going to their house, okay, but still, it's the first time you're going to their house and eat their food, and you're being like, I'm not going. Okay, first of all, are you the Queen of England? Like, why do I care?
Also, I gotta say, like, there's a bakery near your place that's like dairy-free, nut-free, vegan, like all of the
it's
free.
gluten-free, nut-free, and vegan. I don't know what they put
I don't know what they put in it, but it's honestly some of the
Divine.
most delicious baked goods I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
So people like just assuming that foods that have these alternative recipes that it's gonna be bad or poor quality. It's just not true.
And it sounds like this person objectively loves cooking and like puts a lot of time and effort into making things
And
that
is
are
inviting
good.
presumably into their home.
They sound like such an inclusive, nice person.
Yeah, being like, you don't have anywhere else to go or whatever, come into my home, I'll give you food.
I can't understand the audacity, and there's like even the fact that this person's asking this question, and I'm like, you're such a kind person, or like that, like they're not realizing the fact that this person's like I know there's people who are just like very picky and whatever. Maybe bring something, or like most gatherings, like they're always around food, but like I'm not going for the food. Well, actually sometimes I'm going for the food. Sometimes the food's really good. You're going for the food, but like you're going to spend time with people.
It's about the people, right? It's about getting to know your new partner's friends or and their family or whatever. So it should be more about that.
If I got invited to a processed cheese palooza to go meet my partner's
You
friend,
would totally go.
I would go.
And you'd have a grand old time.
Maybe I would eat beforehand. Even just to be nice, I would try some stuff. I'm like, thank you for making this, you know?
And also, like, I gotta say, too, like, it's not like the person is, because the person said, am I the asshole for cooking low carb? It's not like, it sounds like the person is not doing it because they're just, like, trying to impose, like, their weird preferences or whatever. Even if that were the case, yeah, you're still not the asshole, but they just specifically say, like, I have a chronic illness, I don't know.
And they said they're gonna be sick or whatever if they had to eat the, like,
Exactly. I mean, I don't know what the context is, like, what illness is it? Do they need to be in a restricted diet? But it doesn't matter. Right?
Still.
This has the same vibes as like the people that are mad that they don't serve peanuts on a plane anymore.
You're not the asshole. I hope that your friend breaks up with their partner. To be this unkind and that, like, that probably permeates into every area.
The lack of compassion.
Yeah. Look, I think this person should be with the person from the last post.
Yes! They'd make a great couple.
Like, I think, you know what, we could use, like, Am I the Asshole to just pair all the assholes together.
We should be Am I the Asshole Cupid? That was fun.
No, actually I had a great time. Okay, everyone needs to know, we film for, like, an hour, but, like, we hang out for, like, 6 hours, and this feels like the conversations we just have for, like, those 6 hours.
We should do these
more often.
As, like, a break between like diets.
We need to do fewer diets.
Yes, yeah. I hope you guys like this format too.
Yeah, let us know if you liked it. If you have any like stories you want us to react to that's like related to nutrition. Honestly, if it's just related to if food is even just mentioned in it one time, we'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok.